Story of the keys and everything.
Yeah.
Yes, She Majesty stayed with us in Bristol for the night, and then we went on to Exeter, where in one day She Majesty held a little puja with about 12 people, did a television interview, and then in the evening did a public programme. And then after that she decided she wanted to go back to Bristol again. So I set out with Mother. She said, come with me. So, just after we set out, I realised that Chris, my husband, had the key to our house. And so I said, Mother, my husband's got the key. And so she said, let's go back. So we went back. We hadn't been set out very long. But he'd already left with Linda Pierce, and I think it was just with Linda Pierce and Data, her son. So meanwhile, we went back to Bristol, arrived at the old vicarage. This is a big house where we had a flat. And we couldn't get in because Chris hadn't turned up with the key, so we waited for a while. He didn't turn up. And this went on, and various things happened. Mother got me to try her keys in the door. And time passed, and I was sort of thinking, gosh, what are we going to do? And Mother went to sleep in the front seat. And all sorts of things were going through my mind. And eventually she woke up again, and she said, why don't we go and get a drink? So we drove around Bristol for a while, and we couldn't find anywhere to get a drink. Everywhere was shut by that time, but we found a little street vendor in one of these little vans, and we had hot chocolate. I remember that. Just very nice, and we talked about hot chocolate and whether it was good for your liver or she said just have it with less milk, because I think it was Nick Kershaw. He said, but what if you've got a bad liver, Mother? And she said, oh, just have it with less milk. She said, it's a very good drink to have before you go to bed at night, and but don't have tea after 6 o'clock, she said.
Don't have
tea after 6 o'clock. And then we drove around, we came back to the old vicarage, and they still weren't there. And by now it was really, really late. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning or something. Just didn't know what had happened to Chris and Linda, and so I was thinking, oh gosh, what are we going to do? And there was another flat in Bristol where my brother was living, where I had previously lived, which was a very, very humble place. And I was thinking,
I was living there.
Yeah, it was very humble, wasn't it? Very humble indeed.
There were four of us living in a one-bedroom flat.
And so, in the end I said, Mother, there is another flat we could go to, because I just thought we've got to go somewhere for the night. And Alan lives there. She said, oh, let's go there. So we went there, and Alan Richards had gone to bed, and he'd kind of woke up when he heard the front door, came to the door, and he was all covered in kumkum and kajal all around his eyes, and he kind of came to the door, and there was She Majesty at the front door. And then it was such a humble place. I mean, in the main bedroom there was just a mattress on the floor, not even a proper bed.
Yes, it was.
Not when She Majesty slept there, because believe me, I remember.
Well, she slept. I remember. She slept in my bed.
Well, she was sleeping on a mattress on the floor. This is.
Which one was that then?
Because I remember apologising.
That must have been their first house.
Tell us the
This was Hampton Road.
No, because I was living there. Because what happened? Well, my version of the story is what had happened is the Exeter yogis had put on a meal for everyone. And after the public programme, most of the yogis went back to this place for a meal. And Ruth had gone off with Mother. This is how I remember it. Anyway.
It would be better if one person tells the story, because I'm going to lose the thread.
All right, okay.
And I was there.
Remind us of the time you're talking about.
Yeah, this was in, it was before I had my daughter, so it was 1982. In about November, I think. And so we went back to this flat, and Mother slept in the bedroom on the mattress on the floor, and Pam was there, and it was Janet, Ridley, me and Pam. We all slept in the hall outside Mother's room, and there were a few men, I think, which I can't remember who they were, but they were in the sitting room. And in the morning, Mother said, where did you sleep? And we said, in the hall, Mother. And she said, oh, you should have slept in here with me. And she told us to wake her up at 8:30 in the morning, I think it was. And so Janet and me went in at 8:30, and, you know, we hadn't had much sleep that night. And we didn't want to wake Mother up. We didn't know how to wake Mother up. We just went in and we bowed down, and we both fell asleep, so we were bowed down on the floor, fast asleep. And then eventually Mother woke up, and Mother said, I'll go and find out what's happened. Where was Chris and everything? And so I went to the phone box, because we didn't have any mobile phones or anything then. Yes. And we didn't even have a phone in the flat. And I went and phoned Chris, and what had happened was they'd broken down on the motorway. They had the key, and they'd broken down. It was Linda Pierce and him and Data. And so by the time they got back, obviously, all this had happened. And meanwhile, Alan, my brother, had come back to the old vicarage, had laid down in his car, sleeping, to wait for someone to turn up. That's right, he must have come after Mother had left. And then Chris and Linda came back, went into the flat, not seeing Alan. And so Alan spent the night outside the old vicarage asleep, when he actually lived in the flat that She Majesty was sleeping in. And he'd had the desire for her to come to the flat. So it was just so funny, the whole thing.
Full comedy of errors.
Exactly, because she was in his flat, he was sleeping outside the old vicarage, unaware of any of this going on. This is where Mother was supposed to be staying with us, where she'd stayed the previous night before we went to Exeter.
Well, my version